I think when Huzur arrives, maybe he would like to add something on that topic.
I may recognize. I thought enough was said on this. Huh? The whole hour was taken up by this question, wasn't it? Or half of it, or maybe
the last bit.
The last bit, of course. Yes. So would you require me to add something, or that's sufficient?
I think so. تريد أن يضيف شيئا آخر.
Sufficient.
لأن هذا الموضوع يعني سمعته من كثير مناطق، يعني ليس من ناس معينين أو بعض الناس يمكن شعروا بهذا بالطريق خطأ، أو لكن هم لا أظن أنهم كذبوا علي إنما سألوا مني هذه الأسئلة، لكن لا أعرف ماذا أجيبهم، لأنهم يقول أنا رأيت لكن لا أعرف ماذا هذا، أنا أريد أن أعرف ماذا هذا.
He said to many of my very close friends, they have related to me very many experiences, spiritual experiences, and I cannot deny this, why I would like to know more in order to explain to them the truth.
It all depends on what specific experiences they have related to you. The question which I raised applies to all such experiences, but particularly in case of one who insists that he has seen actually the ruh of somebody who's supposed to be dead, the questions can be, counter questions should be raised. Was that ruh dressed like ordinary human dress or not? What was she wearing? Or was she naked? And if naked, what describe to us the body of the spirit, and what were the various organs of the spirit and so on. But if you cannot describe the organs like human organs of the spirit, then that is something which is undescribable, indescribable, nondescript. So you have been talking to something which you could not see. But if the moment you begin to see that something, it has to be seen in human form, and that is what they claim. Exactly in the features which the person remembers of that person who's dead, and wearing ordinary human clothes. Can a spirit wear ordinary human clothes? That is the question. And as far as the test to the truth of such people is concerned, we have applied this test here and found the answer very clearly that they are all frauds. Either frauds or mad people, or sycophants and things, not sycophants, suffering from psychic diseases. The positive test was once given by Hazrat Muslim Maud, my late father, to a spiritualist here in England. My late father, Hazrat Muslim Maud, when he visits Syria and also during the same journey he visited Syria and then England. And in England, when he heard of some renowned spiritualists who was famous for their science and claim that they can call the spirit of anyone who is dead and considered to be completely out of reach of human awareness. They said, we can produce them and you can speak to such a person, no problem. So this was becoming, this hocus pocus was becoming very popular in England in those days. So Hazrat Muslim Maud suggested that I would like to see you personally, and I would like a spirit to be called back from wherever it is to come and speak to me. And it was well organized, and the lady was ready with all, her tricks. And as Muslim Maud reached there, the lights were dimmed, you know. A very special, impressive atmosphere was created. You know, in the background there was light movements, like things, like wind is blowing softly, sometimes rising in crescendo, sometimes falling down to whispers and things. So in all this very mysterious atmosphere, a lady addressed my late father, Hazrat Muslim Maud, and said, "We are ready. Which soul would you like to appear?" He said, "Of course, the soul of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It's the only soul I would love to meet." And imagine, after a while she said, "Yes, it is here." You can speak to him. So, Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Nauzubillah min zalik, God forbid, according to this lady, was already there. So Hazrat Muslim Maud Radhiyallahu Ta'ala Anhu said, not that you are Rasulullah, he said, "Oh, the spirit, the so-called spirit, can you recite Surah Fatiha to me, please?" And the soul of the so-called Muhammad Rasulullah said, "I'm sorry, I don't know Surah Fatiha." He said, "I'm sorry, you're not the soul of Muhammad Rasulullah." So you can put these things to real tests. I once did it myself during my experience as in charge of a langar khana. You know, in Rabwa, during Jalsa Salana, we had sometimes guests to the tune of 150,000, 200,000 and so on. So there was various arrangements, separate arrangements for preparing the bread and the what do they call, the curry, bread and curry for these people. I was in charge of one such arrangement. And although all of us worked there voluntarily, but sometimes some professional help is also to be employed, because to make, you know, we call it pera, the round balls of kneaded flour, and then to flatten it, you know, like this, into a round chapati, as we call it, or roti. This is not the task of everybody. Non-professionals cannot do it. So for that purpose and that purpose alone, we had to employ a large number of ladies from the surrounding areas of Rabwa, who were almost all of them illiterate, but they could make a bread very well indeed. So once in the middle of the night, a volunteer rushed in panic to me, and he said that all the workers who are putting the bread in the ovens, you know, earthen ovens, they have run away, and they have gathered in a big barrack where a lady who used to make the bowls has received a jinn. The spirit, not the jinn, but the spirit of a holy man. And everybody is overawed, and everybody is deeply interested in watching what this holy man is doing to this poor lady. And the work is stopped. In Rabwa, where you prepare the food for, in my langar khana, the food had to be prepared by the morning for 30,000 guests. So half an hour break would mean maybe 5,000 are left without food. It's impossible for us to permit such a thing, but they would not listen to anything. As long as they were convinced that an old dead saint has come to occupy this lady, they would not move from their tomb. So I immediately went to the lady myself, and she was in a trance apparently. And I inquired from her, "Who is it who is visiting you?" The voice, again strangely, had a malish tinge to it. And the answer was not given by the lady, but by that voice. It said, "I am Nobahar Shah, Sayyid Nobahar, you know." and I am the great saint who lived across the river in a small village, and he's quite famous anyway. So I am visiting this lady. Who are you to interfere? I said, I have not come to interfere, I have come to meet you, Mr. So-and-so. And I've heard your name, your fame. I want you to recite to me Surah Fatiha. This trick I had learned from my father, the real trick. And these women even do not know Kalama La ilaha illallah. So the Pir Sahib said, I'm sorry, I don't remember. So at this, all the Ahmadi workers had a big laugh. And suddenly the stance was broken. This lady came out of the stance and the work was restarted. So these people can be put to test. Right? Please.
واصل حضرة أمير المؤمنين إجابته بسؤال الأخ شريف بالبارحة، وقال إجابتي في الحقيقة كانت إجابة عامة، ولكن أريد أن أؤكد هنا الشخص الذي يؤكد أنه شاهد روح معينة لابد أن نسأله ما هو اللباس الذي كانت ترتديه تلك الروح، وربما كانت عريانة، فلذلك أطلب منها أن يصف لك جسم تلك الروح وبقية الأعضاء كي نفهم الموضوع أكثر. ويقول حضرة أمير المؤمنين إذا لم يتمكن من وصف جسم تلك الروح أو أعضائها معنى ذلك أنها خارجة عن الأشياء والمقاييس التي نعرفها في هذه الدنيا وأنها لا تخضع لذلك، ولكن في الحقيقة هو يشاهد تجسدا من ذاكرته لتلك الروح، روح الشخص الذي كان يحبه مثلا، فالخيال يمكن أن يجعل هنالك صورة متجسدة لتلك الروح. ويقول حضرة أمير المؤمنين كيف يتصور إنسان أن تلبس روح وهي تنتمي إلى أبعاد تختلف تماما على هذه الأبعاد المادية التي نعيش فيها نحن، كيف يتصور أي شخص أن تلبس روح مثل هذه ملابس الإنسان؟ ويقول حضرته أن التجارب والتحقيقات الكثيرة قد أثبتت أن كل هذه العمليات في الحقيقة إما يقوم بها دجالون أو يقوم بها أناس لهم اضطرابات نفسية مختلفة. ثم تطرق حضرته إلى نقطة هامة وذكر الحديث عن حضرة المصلح الموعود رضي الله تعالى عنه والد حضرته، وقال أنه في زيارته لبريطانيا مارا بسوريا قد سمع هنا حضرة المصلح الموعود رضي الله تعالى عنه عن امرأة قد اكتسبت شهرة كبيرة في حقل استحضار الأرواح الأموات هذا، فزارها حضرة المصلح الموعود رضي الله تعالى عنه وهيأت هذه الامرأة الغرفة من ناحية الإضاءة وبقية الديكور وكل تلك الأمور التي تعرفونها، وكان حتى هنالك نسيم خفيف في الغرفة وإلى غير ذلك. ولما بدأت عملية استحضار الروح هذه طلب حضرة المصلح الموعود رضي الله تعالى عنها من هذه الامرأة أن تستحضر روح الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم، إذ أنه أخبره هذا هو الشخص الوحيد الذي نعم تقول حضرته يأكد قل نعوذ بالله من ذلك، أنه كان على يقين أن هذه الأمور لا تتحقق، ولذلك قد أكد عليها هذه العملية الصعبة. ويقول حضرته أنها قالت فعلا أنا أستطيع أن أستحضر هذه الروح، فبعد فترة ونعوذ بالله من ذلك مرة أخرى قالت هذه الامرأة أن روح حبيبك هي الآن معنا. ففي تلك اللحظات أجابها حضرة المصلح الموعود وقال طيب الآن يمكن أن تطلبي من هذه الروح أن تقرأ على مسامعنا سورة الفاتحة. فبعد فترات تمتمت وقالت وكانت إجابتها قالت أن هذه الروح قالت أنها لا تعرف سورة الفاتحة. ويقول حضرة أمير المؤمنين انظروا كيف
that spirit had forgotten Arabic. She could speak good English but not Arabic.
وهذه نقطة أخرى تذكرها حضرته وقال أنها قالت أن الروح أيضا نسيت اللغة العربية وبإمكانها أن تتكلم إلا اللغة الإنجليزية فقط، وهذه بطبيعة الحال مخادعة. ويقول حضرته أيضا ضرب لنا مثالا آخر وقال مرة، وهذه كانت تجربة شخصية لحضرة أمير المؤمنين، قال حضرته من هذه التجربة قال حضرته أنه كان مسؤول عن من يهيئون وجبات الأكل خلال الجلسة السنوية بربوة بباكستان، وقال حضرته كنا نصنع الخبز لكثير من الضيوف، يمكن العدد يكون ل30,000 أو أكثر من ذلك. فيقول حضرته كنا نضطر في تلك الظروف كي نؤجر بعض السيدات من القرى المجاورة كي يصنعون هذا الخبز. وقال حضرته أنه في ليلة معينة أخبرت أن كل الخبازات، كل السيدات معظمهن الذين كانوا يصنعن الخبز قد تركنا الشغل، والتففنا بامرأة قد ادعت أنها استدعت روح ولي مشهور في تلك المنطقة، وأن روح ذلك الولي قد امتلكتها تماما. فقال حضرة أمير المؤمنين هنا في تلك الظروف نحن نستضيف، كان هنالك ما يقارب كما ذكرت آنفا ما يقارب إلى 30,000 ضيف، والتوقف لنصف ساعة فقط عن صنع الخبز هذه كارثة عظيمة. فيقول حضرته أنني لم أتملك نفسي في تلك الظروف، فذهبت إلى هذه الامرأة التي ادعت ما ادعت، وكان الكثير من السيدات قد التففنا حولها. فقال حضرته أنني لما اقتربت منها قد سألتها وقلت من أنت؟ فأجابني صوت كانت فيه صبغة صوت رجل، والإجابة كانت أنا سيد بهاو شاه.
بهار شاه.
أنا سيد بهار شاه، ذلك الولي المعروف في هذه المنطقة المجاورة بجانب ذلك النهر إلى غير ذلك. وبعد ذلك قالت هذا الصوت حضرة أمير المؤمنين من أنت للتدخل في العملية أو في امتلاك هذه الامرأة؟ فكانت إجابة حضرة أمير المؤمنين لا، أنا لم آتي هنا لأتدخل، بل أتيت فقط لأتعرف عنك أكثر أو عن قرب. فكان هذا قد استغرب كل الحاضرات هنالك من هذه العملية، من هذا السؤال. فبعد ذلك سأل حضرة أمير المؤمنين من I missed the last part.
Bahar Shah.
Bahar Shah. No. Hazur did ask the lady to recite.
Not the lady. The Bahar Shah was speaking to me.
Yes.
The lady had disappeared. No, he was there, but as though she was not there. It was Bahar Shah directly speaking to me.
وقال حضرة المؤمنين أنني تذكرت تلك النصيحة من والدي، وطلبت من هذه الشخص أو الروح التي كانت حسب ما تدعي تملكها أن تقرأ علي سورة الفاتحة. والإجابة كانت أن هذه الروح لا تعرف سورة الفاتحة. وذكر حضرته أنه تعلم هذه النقطة الحكيمة الهامة من والد حضرته حضرة المصلح الموعود رضي الله تعالى عنه.
So you can put to test all such claims very easily. Only you have to use your intelligence a little bit, which you have enough, I know.
لم ينجح. جربت. قال لا أدري، هو ليس ما كان في تركيز، فقال أنا لم ننجح اليوم. قال بعد ذلك.
يقول له حضرة أمير المؤمنين عليك أن تختبر كل هذه التجارب كل من يدعون، واستعمل ذكائك لتصل إلى هذه النتائج. فأجاب الأخ محمد شريف فقال جربت ذلك ولكنني لم أنجح.
هو لم ينجح.
هو لم ينجح. قال أنه الآخر لم ينجح وليس الأخ.
Now, let's turn to the next question.
The ladies' turn now.
But you know what you did?
No.
You translated him into Arabic.
Yes.
Oh,
Instead of English, you translated him into Arabic, which he knows very well himself.
yes.
Yeah?
I know.
Okay. Next question, please.
عندي سؤال من سورة الرعد من القرآن الكريم، من سورة الرعد آية 10: له معقبات من بين يديه ومن خلفه يحفظونه من أمر الله إن الله لا يغير ما بقوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم إلى نهاية الآية. ولكن هنا يحفظونه من أمر الله، ما هذا الشيء الذي يمكن أن يحفظ من أمر الله؟
First of all, the translation of this verse. The whole verse will be read and translated for the benefit of the English-speaking people. They should understand the question and also the meaning of the verse. الله يحمل ما تعمل كل أنثى وما تغيظ الأرحام وما تزداد وكل شيء عنده بمقدار عالم الغيب والشهادة الكبير المتعال سواء منكم من أسر القول ومن جهر به وَمَنْ هُوَ مُسْتَخْفٍ بِاللَّيْلِ وَصَارِمٌ بِالنَّهَارِ لَهُ مُعَقِّبَاتٌ مِّن بَيْنِ يَدَيْهِ وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِ يَحْفَظُونَهُ مِنْ أَمْرِ اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ وَإِذَا أَرَادَ اللَّهُ بِقَوْمٍ سُوءًا فَلَا مَرَدَّ لَهُ وَمَا لَهُم مِّن دُونِهِ مِنْ وَالٍ. This is the full verse to which you refer. Read the translation.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allah knows what every female bears and what the wombs render defective and discard and what they cause to grow. And with Him everything has a proper measure. Alimul Ghaibi wa Shahada, He is the knower of the unseen and the seen, and incomparably great, the Most High. Sawa'un minkum man asarra al-qawla wa man jahara bihi. He among you who utters his word secretly and he who utters it openly are equal in his knowledge. And also he who hides by night and he who goes forth openly by day. Lahu mu'aqibatum min bayni yadayhi wa min khalfihi. For him, the messenger, is a succession of angels before him and behind him. They guard him by the command of Allah. Surely Allah changes not the condition of a people until they change that which is in their hearts. And when Allah decides to punish a people, there is no repelling it, nor have they any helper beside him.
Now this is one translation which has added by way of explanation the word prophet, as though this verse applies only to the Holy Prophet of Islam sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he is being guarded by a procession of angels who are behind him and those who walk ahead of him. Now this could be just one of the interpretations, but not all the interpretation of this verse. In fact, the apparent meaning of this verse should be applied to everyone, because the verse begins with the declaration that whoever hides what he may, or whoever discloses what he likes, is alike in the sight of Allah. There is no difference. So it is not Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam who concealed things from God, whoever attempted to conceal things from God, because like that verse declares just before it, Alimul Ghaibi wa Shahada. How could Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam even remotely think of hiding anything from the God whom he knew best? That he is Alimul Ghaibi wa Shahada. So the first application should be the common application to everyone, all humans. And every human is being guarded physically. When you extend the meaning to Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you can only do it in spiritual sense, in his capacity as a prophet. But that is a different story. I don't want to explain that for the time being. What I want to explain, which as you apparently have inquired from me, is the meaning of that hifzullah, the protection of God, and from what? Now this is what I have spoken of previously as well in one of my sermons and during my one of my darses, that this is a very profound verse which has to be understood calmly and with deep contemplation. The fact is that life as we know here is endangered at every second of its existence, from behind and from front. That is to say, we breathe apparently automatically without any danger. But the scientists now have discovered that every thought that passes our mind, it can cause instantaneous death if not protected by God against that possibility, that probability. Every thought we have entertained releases a procession of messages through our nervous system. And the nervous system, as I'm thinking now, is conveying everything to my whole body, what I'm thinking of, and also is bringing back to me all my past memories regarding the question I'm discussing. It's a fantastic world which God has created within humans. But the most important thing which has come to light only recently during the current age is the fact that every movement of the thought or feeling carried from the mind to the organs or from organs to mind runs through a long chain of nerve cells. Each cell is attached to another, and so millions upon millions of cells are involved in conveying the message. The moment the message is passed on to the other cell, that chemical which is responsible for doing this is discharged, finished. Immediately it has to be recharged and replaced by something else, or the man will die, the person will die. So every split second there are angels of death which are following us, behind us and in front of us. So this is the decree of Allah. So nothing can save life from the decree of Allah but another decree of Allah. So it is not said يَحْفَظُونَهُ بِأَمْرِ اللَّهِ. This should be remembered by all the Arabic knowing people, that read the Quran, and if you want to express that with the command of Allah, in this context min is not used. It is be. Sila, be is used. The verse should have said يَحْفَظُونَهُ بِأَمْرِ اللَّهِ. Of course بِأَمْرِ اللَّهِ, but the word min is used, which carries both meanings together. Why the word be does not carry these two meanings? Min amrillah may mean be amrillah, and min amrillah also mean from amrillah, from the decree of God with the decree of God. This is the meaning, that you think you are living continuously, automatically, you know. Very stupid of you to think of that. Every split second of your existence, you are facing death from all sides. The heart can fail, the liver can collapse, anything can happen to you. But this is the decree of God. None can save you from the decree of God but the decree of God. So these angels are protective angels. Those angels from which the danger comes are the angels of death. They perform their duty simultaneously, and the angels of protection perform their duties. So as long as Allah decides such humans to remain alive, the decree of life becomes transcendent. The moment He withdraws that decree, the decree of death works and nobody can escape it. This is the meaning. لَهُ مُعَقِّبَاتٌ مِّن بَيْنِ يَدَيْهِ وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِ يَحْفَظُونَهُ مِنْ أَمْرِ اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. But when Allah decides that they should go, فَإِذَا أَرَادَ اللَّهُ بِقَوْمٍ سُوءًا فَلَا مَرَدَّ لَهُ فَمَا لَهُم مِّن دُونِهِ مِن وَالٍ. This is the meaning of min amrillah. Except by God, nobody can save them from the decision of God. When He has decided to destroy them. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. After this, remember this. وَإِذَا أَرَادَ اللَّهُ بِقَوْمٍ سُوءًا فَلَا مَرَدَّ لَهُ فَمَا لَهُم مِّن دُونِهِ مِن وَالٍ. أَرَادَ Allah is one thing, and He becoming wall is another thing. So when God has decided to destroy people, only God can save them from His own decree and nothing else can. This is exactly how I have translated the verse Min Amrillah.
كان سؤال هذه المرة عن آية قرآنية كريمة من سورة الرعد، وقد سمعتوها بالتفصيل، وقرأ حضرته أن يقرأ على ما سمعنا الترجمة الإنجليزية لهذه الآية. وكان تعليق حضرته أن في هذه الترجمة أضيفت كلمة نبي، وفي الحقيقة له معقبات. قال حضرته له معقبات، أي هنالك ملائكة تحفظ. وقال حضرته أن هذه الآية قد بدأت بإعلان، وهذا الإعلان لا يتعلق بالرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم بالدرجة الأولى. وكيف يتصور أي إنسان أن الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم يقوم بأعمال لا يستطيع الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يتطلع عليها؟ فهذه الأمور غير ممكنة، وبصورة أخرى مستحيلة الوقوع.
Think of hiding his thoughts from Allah when the verse begins with عالم الغيب والشهادة.
يقول حضرته أن الآية تبدأ بعالم الغيب والشهادة، وكيف حتى الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم بإمكانه أن يتصور حتى أن يقوم بأعمال لا يستطيع الله سبحانه وتعالى أو يخفي هذه الأعمال لا يستطيع الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يتطلع عليها. ويقول حضرته أن هذه الآية تنطبق على الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم من الناحية الروحية فقط، ولا أريد أن أخوض في هذا الموضوع عفوا، إذ أنه سيأخذ منا وقتا طويلا. ثم تطرق حضرته وقال السؤال الهام هنا هو حول حفظ الله سبحانه وتعالى. وقال حضرته أن حياة الإنسان على وجه هذه الأرض هي في خطر في كل لحظة وفي كل ثانية. والعلماء قد أثبتوا من خلال أبحاثهم أن أي فكرة تخطر في بال الإنسان، هذه الفكرة قد ينبثق منها موجات وقوة مغناطيسية معينة، وهذه القوة إذا ليس هنالك أي جهاز آخر يراقبها يمكن أن تقتل الإنسان في بعض ثواني. ولكن الله سبحانه وتعالى يحفظه من هذه الموجات، خصوصا أنها لما تخطر هذه الفكرة في بال أي إنسان هي في الحقيقة يستحضر هذا الإنسان من ذاكرته تلك المعلومات التي دونت فيها وتربط بعضها ببعض، ثم تجول بخاطره مرة أخرى وبإمكانه أن تخرج في صورة الصوت. ويقول حضرته أن هنالك تشارك في هذه العملية الضخمة خلايا كثيرة وترتبط بعضها ببعض، وهكذا يقع هذا الاتصال ويذهبون إلى ذلك المركز لاستحضاره من الذاكرة كل هذه المعلومات، ثم تخرج في صورة كلام. ويقول حضرته إذا لم يكن هذا النظام من الله سبحانه وتعالى، أنه لما تفرغ هذه الخلايا من هذه العملية الهامة تعودها خلايا أخرى، إذن الله سبحانه وتعالى وضع هذا النظام المحكم. يمكن إذا لم يكن فيه هذا النظام يمكن الإنسان أن يموت مباشرة في بضع ثواني بمجرد أن يكون له تفكير في نقطة بسيطة فقط. وهذه النقطة الهامة التي وضح حضرته، وقال أنه في كل ثانية هنالك ملائكة الموت وملائكة الحياة دائما مع الإنسان. وانظروا قال حضرته بعد أن فسر هذه النقاط العلمية الهامة، قال ورجع حضرته وقال انظروا كيف أن الله سبحانه وتعالى.
Before that, I also added that that is not the only door from which death can visit you. Death surrounds you from all sides. Life is an exception, death is a rule. Anybody can die of so many different causes. The heart can suddenly cease to beat without any apparent cause. The roof can fall upon. The earth can swallow people. Earthquakes come. Other accidents take place. So man is surrounded by all sides with death. His life is a miracle. Death is a law, but the law created by God. So this law can only be defeated by another law of God. This is what I said, min amrillah, بأمر الله ومن أمر الله, both meanings are found together in this word min.
صححني حضرة المؤمنين وقال أنه في كل لحظة حياة الإنسان مهددة بالخطر، ففي أي لحظة يمكن أن يصاب أي شخص بصدمة قلبية أو يقع هنالك زلزال أو حتى يسقط عليه السقف ويموت. ويقول حضرته أن في الحقيقة الحياة هي معجزة والموت هو قانون دائم قائم ويحوم حول حياة الإنسان. ثم تطرق حضرته وذكر الآية القرآنية الكريمة وقال انظروا كيف أن الله سبحانه وتعالى هنا قد ذكر صراحة وقال من أمر الله، أي يحفظونه من أمر الله. ولو قال يحفظونه بأمر الله لكان المعنى يختلف تماما، إذ المن هنا هي تغطي معنى بأمر الله وأيضا تغطي المعنى الآخر من أمر الله. ثم قال حضرته أنه لما يقدر الله سبحانه وتعالى موت أي شخص معين هكذا هذا القرار يتخذ مباشرة وتتوقف ملائكة الحياة عن المحافظة على حياة ذلك الإنسان. فالله سبحانه وتعالى فقط له تلك السلطة الكاملة لاتخاذ هذه القرارات.
And the end part of the verse also supports this view, which says وَإِذَا أَرَادَ اللَّهُ بِقَوْمٍ سُوءًا فَلَا مَرَدَّ لَهُ فَمَا لَهُم مِّن دُونِهِ مِن وَالٍ. Against the irada of God, it is God Himself who can save, not nobody else. So the previous meaning is supported by the end part of this verse.
يقول حضرته أن نهاية هذه الآية تؤيد ما ذكرته بداية نفس الآية، إذ أن الله سبحانه وتعالى هو الذي لما يقدر الله سبحانه وتعالى لا هذا التقدير لا يتغير تماما.
Okay. Next please.
عندي حديث الآن أريد أن أسأل عن هذا الحديث أيضا.
Your mother or your khala? Khala. Please.
عن أبي الدرداء رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أكثر الصلاة علي يوم الجمعة فإنه مشهود تشهده الملائكة وإن أحدا لن يصلي علي إلا عرضت علي صلاته حتى يفرغ منها. قال قلت وبعد الموت؟ قال إن الله حرم على الأرض أن تأكل أجساد الأنبياء فنبي الله حي يرزق. هل يعني يعقل أن جسد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم؟
And the hadith is taken from?
من ناحية الحديث
من مشكاة المصابيح.
مشكاة المصابيح.
But which is the original source?
ده النص الأصلي.
حديث ابن ماجه هنا رواه ابن ماجه. في آخر الحديث يقال أنه رواه ابن ماجه.
طبعا تسأليه بالمرة الجاية بنطلع الأصل وتسأل السؤال.
Alright, please translate.
Next time she may ask again when we'll have the full reference.
Okay.
Okay, and now she can ask other questions.
I would like to hear the authority of this hadith.
Yes. عندك سؤال آخر أو؟
عندي إذا فيش حدا عنده أما نأخذ الوقت كله لا.
ما طلع المصدر سليم أنت بعدك.
No, we give you preference because you are guests here. And you may return to Palestine. That's right. So the other regular members can ask their questions whenever they like after you have left, right?
طب عندي سؤال أيضا من القرآن الكريم من سورة النمل.
Yes.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وأني مرسلة إليهم بهدية فناظرة بما يرجع المرسلون فلما جاء سليمان قال أتمدنني بمال فما آتاني الله خير مما آتاكم بل أنتم بهديتكم تفرحون فارجع إليهم فلنأتينهم بجنود لا قبل لهم بها ولنخرجنهم منها أذلة وهم صاغرون. يعني إلى هذا الحد سيدنا سليمان كان جبارا وظالما.
والعياذ بالله.
Please. Translation. Yes.
هذا أن أرسلوا الهدية.
That's right. The whole series of these verses are very difficult to understand and explain. And only Allah can guide you to the true meaning of these verses. But we have got some help from Hazrat Muslim which works as a key to the understanding of all these verses. If you got the key, then you can of course open up all these locks. please.
Which number is it? Verse number?
رقم الآية
24.
24.
Begins with Inni wajadtu imra'atan tamlikuhum wa utiyat min kulli shay'in wa laha arshun azim. I found a woman ruling over them, and she has been given every necessary thing, and she has a mighty throne. Wajadtuha wa qawmaha yasjuduna lishamsi min dunillah. I found her and her people worshipping the sun instead of Allah, and Satan has made their works look beautiful to them, and has thus hindered them from the right way, so that they are not rightly guided. Allah yasjudu lillahi allazi yukhrijul khaba fis samawati wal ardh, and they insist that they will not worship Allah, while Allah is He who brings to light that which is hidden in the heavens and the earth, and who knows what you conceal and what you disclose of your design. Allahu la ilaha illa huwa rabbul arshil azim. Allah, there is no God but He, the Lord of the mighty throne. So that's an occasion for sajda.
That's right. Now we should do sajda now. Why didn't you read the specific verse alone? But no harm in sajda. It's all right, it's clean. For sajda it's all right. Huh? The last sajda tilawat. All right, please.
After that, you read?
Now they come to the verse, specific part of that verse which he wants me to explain. It's a short part of that verse which is.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
وَإِنِّي مُرْسَلَةٌ إِلَيْهِمْ بِهَدِيَّةٍ فَنَاظِرَةٌ بِمَا يَرْجُو الْمُرْسَلُونَ. But I am going to send them a present.
No, not the one. This answer of Hazrat Sulaiman. That is the one she. That's right. Yes, that's right. Yes, this is the answer. Yes, huh?
Go back to them, for we shall surely.
This is the
come
real
them
part. Yes.
with hosts against which they will have no power of resistance, and we shall drive them out of their land disgraced, and they will be humbled.
And hadiyatakum tafrahun, that part also should be read. She read that as well. Antum bi hadiyatakum tafrahun.
So when the queen's envoy came
That's
to
right. This is the
Solomon, he said, "Do you presume to help me with your wealth? But that which Allah has given me is better than that which He has given you."
The words of the verse.
فَلَمَّا جَاءَ سُلَيْمَانَ قَالَ أَتُمِدُّونَنِي بِمَالٍ فَمَا آتَانِيَ اللَّهُ خَيْرٌ مِمَّا آتَاكُمْ بَلْ أَنْتُمْ بِهَدِيَّتِكُمْ تَفْرَحُونَ.
The word tumiduna has been translated help. It may be translated, but here, in this context, the meaning should be, do you want to add to my wealth, extend my wealth further by these gifts? I'm not interested in money, because Allah has granted me wealth far more than you can imagine. So you have read me wrong. I'm not an ordinary conqueror who conquers territories for the sake of wealth. I'm not interested in earthly glory, because God has already granted me far more than God has granted you. There is one thing which should be understood, that he is not an ordinary conqueror. You read the history of great people whose name is famous for their conquest of big territories of the world. You will always find them amassing wealth, collecting them and carrying that wealth home. So this is one distinction between Hazrat Sulaiman's invasion of that area, of the territory of Malka Saba, Queen Saba, and other conquests of worldly sultans, or what they call, those who invade other people, those great generals, that you say, or great kings who invade other people's territory. Yet, I agree with you, if not properly understood, this verse carries a tone or an implication which one does not like in relation to a prophet of God. What right has a prophet of God to invade other people without any cause and to bring about a revolution within them, to turn the high to low and low to high and this and that? What right did Sulaiman have? Isn't he despotic in this answer and in this attitude? And again the question is, the queen, poor queen, and she is siding with the lady, of course, naturally, you know. It's the lady who is asking the question. The poor queen offered gifts. And what rudeness this is. Take away your gifts, I don't like this. So this is what is bothering your khala. Huh? A poor lady, you know, who is so fine and decent, who sent gifts to an invading king, and he rejects the gift. That is one sign of bad temper. Add to that the threat that I am going to conquer you. It's a good question, I must say. But you should remember that Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam made these excursions into different territories and in different directions, not by initiating a state of war between him and other states of the area. There was a time when Hazrat Dawood alayhi salatu wasalam was unlawfully and unjustifiably invaded by the surrounding kings. And they continued to invade him and try to deprive him of his sovereignty over certain areas. Then Hazrat Dawood alayhi salatu wasalam defeated them with an iron grip, got the command of the state and defeated them hollow. After the death of every great sovereign, these things begin to rise. The heads begin to rise again to destroy the empire. So we know from history that immediately after the death of Hazrat Dawood alayhi salatu wasalam, the same people, same rebellious people, once again try to wrench themselves out of the command of Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam. So his campaign was a wide campaign of rehabilitating his own lost territory if it was occupied, or to remove the threat to that territory from the surrounding kingdoms which had already appeared. So that is why he traveled far and wide. His intention was not to amass wealth. God had already given him much. His intention was to establish a rule of law and peace under his command in the entire region, which had lost their right to command because they had already risen in rebellion against his father and his own rule. Now this is a very important factor which is not specifically mentioned here, but which should be kept in mind, because if you understand this, then you will understand the wars of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah much better. Once a state of war begins, then unless a peace treaty is signed or one warring party defeats the other, that state of war does not come to an end by itself. It may continue for 100 years or so. Like in Arabia, there are 100-year wars and more than 100 years wars between different tribes. Unless a peace treaty was finally signed, the state of war continued. Battles, of course, take place not continuously, but with intervals in between. So that is the reason why Hazrat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam started invading different tribes who had initially invaded Medina in Jang-e-Ahzab, and also previously they were conspiring against him. The Jewish people had started conspiring against him. The historians and the Orientalists in the West, they say, look here, there is no reason why he should have attacked this and that and that. He initiated it. But while it is false, once the state of war had started and these tribes were criminally involved in supporting the enemies, after that, whenever you have an opportunity, you can strike back, and this is not an offensive war. So this was the state of affairs at the time of Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salatu. The state and the empire granted to Hazrat Dawood and Sulaiman was continuously threatened, and many other states who were not directly involved had fully supported the cause of the warring states within the territory. So that was the reason why Hazrat Sulaiman invaded many countries, and the Queen of Saba, the country of the Queen of Sheba, falls into that category. So he said, now you have, by having initiated support to the enemies of our state, you have now warranted an effective countermeasure to bring you to your size, so that you could never think of such a thing again. But Hazrat Sulaiman said, I do not want to do it with bloodshed. That's the only reason why I am sending messages to you. Why not conduct a peace treaty and accept the overall sovereignty, the right of sovereignty of Hazrat Sulaiman in the entire region? If you do it, not a drop would be shed. Not a penny will be taken away from you. Not interested in wealth, I'm not interested in bloodshed, I'm not that type of king which you know of. So there is nothing despotic in this. And she came with submission. And Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salatu did not change her sovereignty over her own territory, did not remove her from the position of office, and let her alone after this. So where is any sign of despotism? No cruelty was exercised. No transgression was committed. Only what he needed was a guarantee that we will be a friendly state and no more. That guarantee obtained, he returned. I hope you understand this. Please. If we have not enough time,
Looks like it.
we are meeting tomorrow.
Yes.
So the rest of the answer can be given to the answer can be given tomorrow. Because if you start it and stop it,
Yeah.
it would not be good.
That's right.
Okay?
Yes.
Tell them that inshallah we'll meet again tomorrow. At what time?
Quarter to 11.
Quarter to 11.
Quarter to 12 or quarter to
11.
11?
Quarter to 12.
Quarter to 12. Huh?
Yes, quarter.
Quarter to 12
Yes.
according to our time here. But it will be different times, in different places. But we'll be meeting tomorrow again, and the session will start with your translation of what I have said.
Okay, sir.
Right?
Inshallah.
Tell them.
قال حضرة أمير المؤمنين أننا اقتربنا من انتهاء الوقت المحدد لهذه الحلقة، وسأقدم لحضراتكم إن شاء الله ترجمة ما قاله حضرته إجابة على سؤال الأخت الكريمة في هذه الحلقة في لقاء الغد إن شاء الله.
And thank you very much for coming to my send-off party last night. Huh? I have received telephone messages from my daughters and others. They said they enjoyed it very much with all the different guests sitting together. Eh? Inshallah.
ويبارك الحاضرين هنا اللي حاط أمير المؤمنين عن جواز ابنته أيضا.
And I telephoned them only before I came, and my daughter was about to depart. So I reached in time to say her the last minute goodbye and fi amanillah. Yes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.